in front of 200 colleagues at Sterling Financial, with cameras streaming to every office nationwide, Vanessa, the CHRO, declared my career dead. Her words a cold blade slicing through my 7 years of hard-earned loyalty, but she had no idea I'd rise from that betrayal to spark a revolt that would shatter her control. Jake Miller, as of this moment, your system access is suspended. Please leave the building immediately. Those words hit me like a punch when I walked into the office that morning. No greeting, no warning, just a verdict. Cold, final, and public. My name's Jake, 32 years old, and I stood frozen in the 27th floor lobby, under the glare of polished lights and sharper stares. Some colleagues looked confused, others smirked, satisfied. I was clueless about what was happening. Just last night, I was in this same building until 10 p.m., finalizing the quarterly proposal for an $8 million project my team had busted their butts on for weeks. And now, I was being erased. I worked at Sterling Financial, one of the slickest firms in downtown Chicago, for 7 years. I started as a junior analyst with no connections and a secondhand suit. I stayed late, learned fast, took the grunt work nobody wanted. I climbed, slow but steady. I wasn't polished, but I was real. I built a team that felt like family, people I mentored, fought for, celebrated with after every deal. But all that crashed down during one company-wide meeting that Monday morning, live streamed to every branch across the country. Vanessa, our CHRO, stepped up to the mic like she was about to unveil a bold new vision. Instead, she dropped a bomb. The company had finished an internal investigation, and the findings were brutal. I was, she claimed, undermining team morale, spreading internal rumors, and potentially compromising sensitive deals. I sat there, stunned. None of it was true. Worse, nobody told me an investigation was even happening. No chance to defend myself. No evidence shown. Just a list of accusations read out loud to 200 people like it was the truth. I scanned the room. Most avoided my eyes. A few stared at their screens, pretending to jot notes. Only Tim, my junior associate, the guy I trained from day one, looked at me, his jaw tight, his hand balled into a fist on the table. His eyes screamed, "This is total crap." I couldn't breathe. It felt like the floor had swallowed me, burying me alive under a pile of lies. But I didn't yell, didn't beg. My dad, a steelworker from small-town Ohio, always said, "Whatever happens, don't let him see you flinch." So I didn't. I nodded once, thanked Vanessa for the update, and walked out like a man who still had his pride, even if everything else was ripped away. I drove straight home. My head was a mess. Who set me up? Why? How'd I miss this coming? When I opened my personal laptop to check my files, I saw my company email was already deactivated. My accounts, my documents, even access to the shared drive, gone, erased. Worse, someone had flagged my LinkedIn as open to work, like a final jab. It was a clean hit, executed perfectly. That night, I sat on the couch next to Max, my golden retriever who didn't know the storm I was in, and stared at the Chicago skyline blinking back at me. I poured a bourbon, hoping it'd clear my head. It didn't, but somewhere in the quiet and the sting, something snapped into place. I wasn't perfect. I could be blunt, sometimes stubborn, but I wasn't a traitor. I wasn't a saboteur. I was being played, thrown under the bus to cover someone else's mess. And if Vanessa thought she could bury me quietly and walk away clean, she was dead wrong. "No way I'm letting this slide," I told Max. He tilted his head, like he was in on it. Those first few weeks after Vanessa's public attack felt like trudging through mud, every step heavy with betrayal. I woke at 5 a.m. The Chicago skyline was dark. Max's snores filled my Wicker Park apartment. I sipped coffee from my chipped Bears mug, replaying that meeting, her voice cutting like a knife, my team's eyes dodging mine. I grabbed my usual Dunkin' order, a small ritual to keep me grounded. My career, my reputation, the life I'd built from nothing in a small Ohio town, it all felt like it was slipping away. But my mom's voice echoed, "Stand tall, Jake." So I watched, listened, pieced it together. At 8 p.m. one night, I found it, a hidden Slack channel. "She thinks she's untouchable," I muttered. At Sterling Financial, the office vibe had shifted long before Vanessa's stunt. I'd noticed it months earlier. Small stuff, like how she'd glide past employees in the break room without a word, saving her smile for the execs. There were whispers about her new performance metrics, a system that seemed to reward her favorites while punishing anyone who dared question her. I'd seen it hit close. My colleague Sam, a data analyst with a sharper mind than most VPs, got denied a promotion despite landing a $1 million client. "You need to show more team spirit," Vanessa told him, her tone dripping with condescension. I'd brushed it off as office politics at first, but after her attack on me, it clicked. She was building a house of cards, and I was just the latest piece she wanted to knock down. I dug deeper, not just for revenge, but to see how far her poison spread. Late at night, Max curled by my feet, I scoured old emails, meeting notes, anything. At 10 p.m., I found it, a hidden Slack channel. HR Inner Circle, her private playground. I scrolled through months of messages. My jaw tightened. She mocked Sam as a wannabe hotshot, called Priya too mouthy. One message bragged about trimming the fat with layoffs. It was hard proof, undeniable. I saved every screenshot to a thumb drive, my hands shaking with fire, not fear. I knew I couldn't take her down alone. Vanessa had the board's ear, a polished LinkedIn presence, and a knack for spinning stories. But I also knew I wasn't the only one she'd burned. Over the next few weeks, I started reaching out, carefully, to colleagues I trusted. It began with Sam, over beers at a dimly lit bar in Logan Square, the jukebox playing Springsteen in the background. "She's playing us all," I told him, sliding my phone across the table to show him the Slack messages. His eyes widened, then narrowed. "I'm in," he said, no hesitation. Next was Priya, who I met at a coffee shop near the CTA station. Her usual spark dimmed after months of being sidelined by HR. She read the screenshots, her lips pressing into a thin line. "Let's bury her," she whispered, one by one. Others joined. Analysts tired of being undervalued. Admins who'd overheard Vanessa's cruel asides. Even a quiet IT guy who'd seen her delete incriminating emails. We called ourselves the Coalition, a nod to the underdog spirit of the American worker, fighting for what's right. We met in my apartment, Max wagging his tail as pizza boxes piled up on the coffee table. It wasn't a revolution, not yet. It was a group of regular folks, sick of being stepped on, trying to figure out how to fight a system stacked against us. We knew the risks, losing our jobs, our health insurance, our shot at the American dream we'd all chased, but we also knew the cost of staying quiet. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, Max's steady breathing my only anchor, wondering if I was leading these people into a trap. I wasn't a saint. I'd made mistakes, pushed too hard in meetings, maybe trusted the wrong people early on. But this wasn't about me anymore. It was about every late night we'd spent fixing reports, every idea we'd poured into Sterling, only to be dismissed by someone who saw us as disposable. Our plan started small but grew bolder. We'd wait for Vanessa's next all-hands meeting, a big one streamed to every office from New York to Los Angeles. We'd use her own stage against her. Priya drafted a statement, sharp and undeniable, laying out HR's failures. Sam built a simple website, ready to host our evidence if the company tried to silence us. I reached out to a friend at the Chicago Tribune, dropping hints about a story that could shake up the finance world. We weren't naive. We knew Sterling could crush us with lawyers or spin the narrative. But we also knew the power of truth in 2025, where a single X post could light a spark. We set up an account, TruthSpark, and prepped a thread with the Slack screenshots. Every step felt like walking a tightrope, but for the first time in weeks, I felt alive. I wasn't just fighting for my job. I was fighting for everyone who'd been told to shut up and take it. And in America, when you push us, we push back harder. The moment I realized we had a real shot at turning the tables on Vanessa hit me like a jolt of adrenaline on a cold Chicago morning. For weeks, our coalition, now 35 strong, had been moving in the shadows, gathering evidence, whispering plans over late-night pizza in my Wicker Park apartment, Max's tail thumping like a metronome to our defiance. But it wasn't until Vanessa announced her next big all-hands meeting, a glitzy affair set for June 2025, streamed live from our Chicago HQ to every Sterling financial office from coast to coast, that I saw our opening. This wasn't just another corporate pep talk, it was her victory lap, a chance to flex her power after painting me as the villain. She thought she'd buried me. She was wrong. I had the Slack screenshots, a growing army of fed-up colleagues, and a plan that could light up the internet. For the first time since that humiliating meeting, I wasn't just reacting, I was ready to strike. Our coalition, now 35 strong, had been meticulous. Priya, with her razor-sharp mind, had polished our statement into a weapon, a 2-page takedown of HR's failures. From rigged promotions to Vanessa's secret layoffs, Sam had built a bare-bones website, ready to host our evidence if Sterling tried to spin the story. I'd looped in my old college buddy, Matt, a reporter at the Chicago Tribune, dropping just enough to pique his interest without spilling the full plan. We knew the risks: blacklisting, lawsuits, or worse, being dismissed as disgruntled nobodies. But we also knew 2025 was the year of the viral reckoning. One X post could shift the narrative, and we were ready to wield it. We'd set up TruthSpark, our account lying dormant but primed with a thread that would drop the Slack screenshots like a digital bomb. The plan was bold. We'd walk out mid-meeting, live stream it, and let the internet do the rest. The night before the meeting, I sat in my apartment, the Chicago skyline glowing through the window, Max sprawled across the couch like he owned it. I rehearsed my opening line in front of him, my voice steady but my heart racing. "This is for all of us," I told him, half expecting his tilted head to nod in agreement. I wasn't some caped crusader. I was just a guy who'd been pushed too far, carrying the weight of my dad's old-school Ohio grit and the dreams I'd chased to this city. But I had something Vanessa didn't: the truth, backed by evidence she couldn't erase. Those Slack messages weren't just gossip. They were a window into her cruelty, her mockery of people like Sam, who'd poured his soul into deals only to be called a try-hard, or Priya, dismissed as too loud for demanding fairness. I pictured her face when we dropped the bomb, that smug smile crumbling, and it fueled me. We fine-tuned every detail. Priya suggested we time the walkout for maximum impact, right when Vanessa hit her stride, preaching about company values. Sam rigged our phones to stream seamlessly to X, with backups in case Sterling's IT team tried to cut us off. I reached out to a few influencers on X, hinting at a big reveal without giving too much away. The coalition met one last time, crammed into my living room, the air thick with nerves and pizza grease. We weren't a perfect group. Some of us had clashed before, and I'd been too stubborn in past meetings, pushing ideas that ruffled feathers. But that night, we were united, each of us carrying our own scars from Vanessa's reign. "We're not just fighting for us," Priya said, her voice low but fierce. "We're fighting for everyone who's been told to shut up and take it." I looked around, at Sam's determined nod, at the IT guy's quiet resolve, and felt something shift. This was bigger than revenge. It was about taking back what was ours. As the meeting day loomed, I walked Max along the lakefront trail, the early summer breeze carrying the scent of the lake. I thought about my dad, who'd worked double shifts to send me to college, never complaining, always believing in the American promise of hard work paying off. I wasn't letting him down. And I wasn't letting my team down. Vanessa thought she'd silenced us, but she'd miscalculated. She didn't know about the screenshots, the coalition, or the fire we'd been stoking. She didn't know we were ready to turn her stage into our battlefield. I went to bed that night, Max curled up beside me, my mind racing but clear. Tomorrow, we'd show the world what happens when you push good people too far. In America, we don't just sit back, we stand up, and we make sure the truth hits harder than any lie. The morning of Vanessa's big all-hands meeting in June 2025 felt like the air before a thunderstorm. Electric, heavy, ready to break. I woke up in my Wicker Park apartment, the Chicago skyline glinting under a pale dawn. Max's warm weight against my legs grounding me as my pulse raced. Today was the day. Our coalition, 35 strong, a mix of analysts, admins, and unsung heroes who'd had enough of Sterling Financial's toxic HR, had spent weeks planning this moment. We weren't just walking into a meeting, we were walking into a fight, armed with truth and a plan to turn Vanessa's stage into her undoing. I pulled on my best suit, the one I'd worn to close million-dollar deals, grabbed a Starbucks latte from the corner, and headed to the office, the city's hum fueling my resolve. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every person Vanessa had belittled, every dream she'd tried to crush under her polished heels. The Sterling HQ conference room was a sea of glass and steel, cameras set up for the live stream to offices from New York to Los Angeles. The mood tense with corporate anticipation. Vanessa stood at the podium, her tailored blazer and practiced smile radiating control, her voice smooth as she launched into her speech about building a stronger future. My team, our coalition, was scattered across the room, each of us playing our part, faces neutral but hearts pounding. Priya sat 2 rows ahead, her fingers subtly tapping her phone, ready to hit record. Sam was by the door, his laptop open to monitor our TrueSpark thread. I caught their eyes, a silent signal passing between us like soldiers before a charge. We'd rehearsed this, planned every move, but the weight of it hit me now. We were risking everything, jobs, reputations, the stability we'd fought for in this cutthroat American corporate world. Vanessa's speech hit its stride, buzzing with synergy, culture, then she slipped, targeting me again. Some folks stir up trouble, she sneered, her eyes locking on me. I stood when my chair scraped. The room froze. Priya stood next, then Sam. 34 others rose, united. Silence hit hard. Vanessa, I said, voice steady, phone streaming to X. We're done with your lies. Priya's statement flashed on Sam's laptop. Sterling's HR betrays us all. Gasps echoed. Tim's fist clenched. Sarah gasped. Vanessa's smile cracked. The execs paled. Sam sent the screenshots. They flooded X, her words exposed, mocking Sam, dismissing Priya. The TruthSpark thread exploded. Retweets surged. 10,000 in minutes. We marched out. The internet roared. This wasn't over. By noon, the fallout was massive. Seattle employees posted under TruthSpark. Miami followed. Boston joined in, sharing stories of Vanessa's favoritism. A rival firm's HR head quote tweeted, "This is a wake-up call." Tim called me later, his voice low. "I doubted you, Jake. I was wrong." The board scrambled, calling an emergency meeting. Vanessa was out, her resignation immediate. Her LinkedIn went dark, her name poison. Our website crashed from traffic. People downloaded the screenshots, sharing them like wildfire. By evening, TruthSpark was trending nationwide, with news outlets from CNBC to local Chicago stations picking up the story. My phone buzzed with a text from Matt at the Chicago Tribune. "Story's going live tonight. You good?" I was more than good. I was alive. Adrenaline pumping like I'd just run the Chicago Marathon. The dust settled after that explosive June day in 2025, but the echoes of our stand against Vanessa lingered, like the hum of Chicago's streets after a summer storm. Sitting in my Wicker Park apartment, Max's golden fur warm against my leg, I scrolled through the Truth Spark posts on X, each one a testament to the fire we'd ignited. Sterling Financial was different now. Vanessa was gone, her name a cautionary tale in corporate boardrooms from Chicago to Silicon Valley. The board's swift reforms, spurred by the media storm and our coalition's relentless push, brought transparent promotions and fairer policies, changes I never thought I'd see in my 7 years at the firm. They even asked me to stay on as a consultant to shape the new HR framework, a role I took not out of loyalty to Sterling, but for the people who'd stood beside me, Sam, Priya, and the others who'd risked everything to demand what was right. I didn't stay long. The victory was real, but it came with scars. I'd lost sleep, trust, and a piece of the optimism I'd carried from my small Ohio hometown to this city of skyscrapers. I'd made mistakes along the way, pushed too hard in meetings, trusted the wrong people early on, letting my stubborn streak blind me to warning signs. But those flaws made me human, and they made our fight authentic. I wasn't a hero. I was just a guy who'd had enough, backed by a team who refused to be silenced. That's what made it matter. The coalition didn't just change Sterling. It sparked a ripple across workplaces nationwide. From Seattle tech startups to Atlanta law firms, workers shared their own stories under TruthSpark, calling out toxic bosses and broken systems. A barista in Portland posted about her manager's bullying. A nurse in Dallas shared how she fought unfair scheduling. Each story felt like a nod to us, proof that our stand wasn't just personal, it was universal. I left Sterling a few months later, trading the corporate grind for a quieter life. I took a consulting gig in Evanston, a short drive from Chicago, in a small office with a view of Lake Michigan's endless blue. It's not the corner office I once dreamed of, but it's honest work, helping companies rebuild trust with their people. Something I know too well. Max comes with me most days, sprawled under my desk, his snores a reminder of the simple things that keep me grounded. I'm not rich, not famous, but I'm proud. Proud in the way my dad was when he'd come home from the steel mill, hands rough but head high, knowing he'd done right by his family. That's the American dream I chase now, not the paycheck, but the purpose. One evening, as I walked Max along the lakefront, the sunset painting the water gold, I got an email that stopped me cold. It was from a young analyst in Minneapolis, a woman named Sarah, who'd seen our Truth Spark posts. "Your story gave me the courage to call out my boss's harassment," she wrote. "I thought I was alone, but I wasn't. Thank you." I stood there, the breeze cool against my face, Max tugging at his leash, and felt something shift. It wasn't just about winning, it was about showing others they could fight too. That's the real power of what we did, not just toppling Vanessa, but lighting a spark for people like Sarah, people who'd been told their voices didn't matter. Thank you for diving into this thrilling Reddit revenge story of how the CHRO publicly humiliated me in a company-wide meeting, thinking she could silence me, only for me to spark a revolt to crush them with TruthSpark. This is a fictional work created for entertainment. Any resemblance to real people, places, or events is purely coincidental. If you love gripping tales of workplace betrayal, corporate drama, and fighting toxic bosses, follow me on X for more electrifying Reddit revenge stories. I'm Jake, a guy from Ohio who showed truth burns brighter than lies. Share your story with TruthSpark at 7 p.m. under Chicago's skyline.